We're learning the first sikha on Parshas Vayeitzei in Chelek Chof on page 124. The shir today is being learned to the Nishmas Rabbi Yosef ben Yamin ben Abanasha Koltman. From Pasuk Vayishkav b'mokim ahu, in the Pasuk in this week's Parsha, where it says that Yaakov Avinu laid and he was on his way to Choran, and that's where he rested. Shteit Medrash, the Medrash tells us, Kan Shochav. Here Yaakov Avinu rested. I will call you Dalet Shana. Shoyatamim bebeis Ever loy Shochav. For 14 years that he was in the house in the yeshiva of Ever, before he comes to Lavan and Choran, over there he did not rest at all. Und danach hat zweite Day, then there's a second opinion that the Medrash says, Kan Shochav, here Yaakov Avinu rested. I will call Chof Shana, Sha'amad bebeis Shalavan, for the 20 years that he was at the house of Lavan, loy Shochav. He didn't rest at all. The estate, as the pasuk later says in the parsha, "Vatidat shnasim einai," that sleep was taken away from my eyes all this time that he worked for Lavan. Weiter is amam shechem medrash. Then the medrash continues and says, "Uma hayoyme." At the time that he was by Lavan, what was he saying? Rabbi Shua ben Levi Yoma Tesvav Shir Amalis shebesefer Tilim. He was saying the 15 Shir Amalis that are in the psukim of Tilim. My taimei. What is his reason? Where does he see that this is what Yaakov was saying? Because it says, Shir Amalis LeDavid, Luli Hashem Shahaya Lanu, Yeimana Yisrael. This is what Yisrael is saying. Who's Yisrael? Yisrael Saba. Yaakov Avinu. This refers to Yaakov Avinu that also has the name Yisrael. Rav Shmuel ben Nachman Amar, Rav Shmuel ben Nachman says, what was he saying all the time when he was by Lavan? Kol Sefer Tilim Hayomer. He was saying Tilim. All Tilim. Ma'atam, where does he see this? Because the pasuk says, Va'ata Kadosh Yoshev Tehillos Yisrael. When it says Tehillos Yisrael, Tehillos refers to all the psukim of Tehillim, and it refers to it as Tehillos Yisrael. It's Yisrael Saba. Yaakov Avinu, our grandfather, was saying Tehillim. Now, the pshat in the shaila umayayim. What does it mean when the Medrash asks, what was he saying in the house of Lavan? Can it sein? It's not simply asking, mit was is Yaakov Avinu gewend farnumim beveis Lavan? What was Yaakov busy with? Yaakov did not rest, so what was he busy with all this time when he was in the house of Lavan? That's not simply what the question is. Weil steht befehlisch, als hat gearbeitet mit sein Lavan b'chol koichai, bis b'yoyim goyim b'layla v'atidat shnasim einad. The pasuk clearly says that what was he busy with? He was working very hard for Lavan with the sheep, day and night. So it's not a question of what he was doing, what he was saying. Now the shaila is, rather the question is, was hat Yaakov gesagt, mispal gewen? What was Yaakov saying? What did he daven or gelernt? What did he learn? Kedei zu kennen ibekommen die Schwierigkeiten in Choran ubeveis Lavan. In order to overcome the difficulties in Choran and the house of Lavan, Yaakov Avinu had many tests being away from home and in such a kind of environment in the house of Lavan. What kept him strong? What did he daven all this time? Zayin beveis Lavan is doch gewen and Amayim is doch Yaakov gewen and Amayim the Matzel Shel Galus. In the house of Lavan, Yaakov is in an exile. Is weggegangen mit Beis Yitzchak Aviv zu sein beveis Lavan. He's away from his father Yitzchak in the house of Lavan. Und hat sich dort vernommen mit sein Lavan. Lavan's son is busy with the sheep of Lavan, which is not something that's on the level of Yaakov at all. Yaakov is away from his normal, proper environment. Bis as ein gefindet sich beweis Lavan hat gepeilt bei ihm, Yeridim im Madrigasai, being in the house of Lavan brought him down from his level. Wie Rashi sagt, as Rashi says, as Yaakov hat gesagt, as Yaakov himself says about his interactions with Lavan, in l'ramah suba, if Lavan wants to come and deal with me in a not in an honest fashion, gamani achiv baramos. I'm his brother as well, and I could also deal with him in a dishonest way. What does this mean? This heißt, dass bei ihm ist gewähnt kaviyachol der inyan aramos bedugmas haramos de Lavan. It brought down Yaakov to this level that he was forced to deal with this kind of ramos like Lavan himself. This is the question that the Medrash is asking. Wie azai is durchgegangen beigestanden der Minyan HaGolus? How did he come through and come out, and how did he remain strong through this very difficult exile that he was in? Sicher is das gewen durch HaKol Kol Yaakov, welches mevatel die Yadayim und die Menagdim von Yaakov. Definitely, this was through the voice of saying words of Torah or davening. That's the power of Yaakov that nullifies the powers of the hands of anybody that is in opposition to Yaakov, in Yonov, and Yaakov and everything that he stands for. K'mayim Chazal, as it says about Yaakov, about the power of Yaakov, HaKol Kol Yaakov. Is the Shaila, so therefore the Medrash asks, Ma hoyoime? What specifically was he saying in order to be strong, to overcome any opposition against him in this exile? Of then for the Medrash. And the Medrash answers, as does an Geven, the Tezvav Shir Amalis Shebesefer Tilim, that he was saying the 15 Shir Amalis in Tilim. Oder, or the other opinion, Kol Sefer Tilim. He was saying the entire Tilim. Das hat ihm gegeben dem Koyach, as soll können durchmachen dem Minyan HaGolus. Saying Tilim, or the 15 Shir Amalis of Tilim, is what gave him the power to make it through this entire time of Golus. That's the simple pshat of this Medrash here. However, in Sif Beis, the Rebbe asks a simple question here. The question here is, it's understood according to the opinion that Yaakov was saying all of Tilim. It's verstandig, die Sheiches von der Amide zu Yaakov in dem Zeit, it's understood how this is appropriate and it's connected to this time that Yaakov is at the house of Lavan. Warum seinig in Amatziv? But so because being in a situation wo bepashtus hat nicht gekannt lernen Torah being. So simply he was busy, so he didn't have an opportunity to sit and study Torah on a deeper level. Al kapanim, at least on a deeper level, he couldn't, even if on a simpler and a basic level, maybe he was able. Nit wie b'shas is given Talmud b'veseve. Unlike the time when he was in the yeshiva of Ever, where he was able to learn Torah on a very high and deep level. Hat gesagt Tehillah zum Eibishten. So he's saying Tehillim praises to Hashem. When Azayne Tehillah, and he chooses to say Tehillim specifically, because the Medrash says that when you say Tehillim, even though you're just saying simply praises in the psukim of Tehillim, but nevertheless Hashem considers it as if one has learned the deepest subjects in Torah, which are in the Mesechtes of Negaim and Ahalas. That's understood, that he was saying all of Tehillim. Was ist aber das spezielle Scheiches von die Tezvav Shir Amalis Shebesefer Tilim zu sein Matze Beveis Lavan. What, however, is the connection of specifically these 15 kapitlach of Shir Amalis to his condition that he was under in the house of Lavan? Das verstehen, so this is understood, Behekdim was the Chidah bringt. So with first bringing here the word that the Chidah says, as the Tezvav Shir Amalis Omar David Olav Hashalem Keneged Tezvav Shonim Shachoyu Ha'avis B'Yachad. These are the 15 Shir Amalis that David says, corresponding to the 15 years that the three Avis, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, lived together in this world. And the Rebbe here brings why this is so. Varam Avram Avinu had gelebt Me'eh Shana V'Shivim Shana V'Chomish Shana. Avram Avinu's life was 175 years. Yitzchak is geboren geworden when Avram is given B'Mas Shana. And Yitzchak is born when Avram is 100 years old. And Yaakov is geboren when Yitzchak is given Ben Shishim Shana. And Yitzchak gives birth to Yaakov when he's 60 years old. Kumtais, as is only given, Tezvav Shanim Shachayu Ha'avis B'Yachad. So that means that they were 15 years together here in this world. And that's the 15 Shir Amalis that David HaMelech said. So based on this we can say, as Yaakov had gesagt, the Tezvav Shir Amalis Shebesefer Tilim, Yaakov was saying specifically this number of the 15 Shir Amalis that David HaMelech said, B'chdei der Mitzvah Ma'orer sein, in order to awaken with this, dem Schus Oich von seiner Avis Avram v'Yitzchak, to bring also the merit of the Avis of Avram and Yitzchak, besides his own Schus, to overcome the Galus that he's in. Das heißt, meaning as Neisef, of seine eigene Schuyes v'Koiches, in addition to his own merits and his own powers that he had. He should also be able to draw down the merits or the powers of Avram and Yitzchak as well. Was durch dem Dafke hat gekent durchmachen die Schwierigkeiten beweis Lavan. This is the only way that he was able to overcome the difficulties in the house of Lavan. Wie hat gesagt, as Yaakov himself said later, Lule Elekei Avram and Upachad Yitzchak Hayali Gomer, if not for the fact that I had the Eibishter, that's Elekei Avram, and Yitzchak with me, I wouldn't overcome all these difficulties in Galus. So that's the 15 Shir Amalis, which represents the lifetime of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov together. And that's the Zechus that Yaakov was looking to have to overcome the difficulties in Galus. Why is this necessary? So in Sif Gimel, the Rebbe explains why do you have to have the Zechus of Avram, Yitzchak, and it's not enough the Zechus of Yaakov. The time for was it gedacht ankommen zum Schus von aller Ovis, zu beikommen, die Nisyonis von Love. And why is it necessary to have the Schus of all Ovis in order to overcome the tests and the challenges in the house of Love? But verstehen, we can understand this, von der Eitze, was bringt sich, wie zu menazech sein am Milchemes Vayeitzei bechlal. There's the advice that's brought, and this is in a mimer from the Tzemach Tzedek, how does one overcome the Yetzer Hara that comes to fight with a person? Was man hat abgelernt von am Milchame Kipshuta, welche ist vorgekommen in der Zeit von Alten Rebben. And this advice here, this approach was learned from the strategy in battle that was learned in the times of the Alter Rebbe. The Seder from Arachas HaMilchama Bechlal is the way the armies would wage battle in general was, at least in those times, as Mechalkim Kol Echad HaChayil Shalei Legimel Chalakim, that each side divides his army into three. Chelek Echad Be'emtza, one it goes in the middle, attacks in the middle. Shtei Yodis Mi'minu Smail, and other two come and attack on the right and on the left. And so too, the opposing side also divides the army into three. And that's how they would fight one against the other from three different directions or three different positions. Und die Atzlache in der Milchame was es given in jener Zeit, and then there was this war, this battle that happened in the times of the Alter Rebbe, and there was one army that was successful and victorious. How was it? As gekommen durch them, this happened, was man hat weggestellt Gimel Machnes Shaloi an kegen ein Machne von der Seine, because one side took three of the battalions and brought them all and concentrated them in one area against one battalion of the enemy. So instead of one group fighting one group, so over here taking three and bringing them together against one, definitely you'll be victorious over the enemy. That's what happened once at the time of the Alter Rebbe. So from there, the Alter Rebbe learned out how one could use this in fighting the Yetzer Hara as well. This could be applied also in the spiritual war against the Yetzer Hara. In order to be victorious against the Yetzer, so one has to employ all three attributes in holiness, which are Ave, Yire, Verachmim, love and awe of Hashem, and the mercy. L'umas mida achas de klippe, and to use all three together to fight only one midah of klippe that attacks a person. And with this, you will definitely bring a downfall and be victorious over the Yetzer Hara. On the far, so now bringing this back over here to Yaakov Avinu that was fighting his battle against the Lavan and all the challenges that he had over there. Und der Fahrer davon haben die Tezvav Shir Amalis, so therefore it's necessary for Yaakov to have the 15 Shir Amalis. Welche seine Keneged Tezvav Shonim Shechoy Avis B'Yachad, corresponding to the years of the three Avis that lived together, to have the power of the three Midas of the three Avis, Chesed, Gevura, and Rachmim. Oiv durchgehen beistehen dem Mina Golus, in order to go through and to withstand the difficulties of Golus. The Gimel Avos and Doch, Keneged, the Gimel Midas, the Kedusha, they represent the three Midas and Kedusha, which are Ava, On Yire, Verachamim. On Bishas, Mot alle Gimel Avos B'Yachad. So when you have the power and you use an aspect of each one of the Midas of all the Avos to fight the challenge that is confronting you, das heißt, Mekleib zusammen alle Gimel Midas the Kedusha B'Yachad. You utilize and you are using it all together as one. Then it's possible for a person to overcome the battles that he has, beruchnius, the challenges, and he can nullify whatever challenge there is in Golus. That is the idea of the 15 Shir Amalis that Yaakov was saying all the time. Siv Daled, the Rebbe adds another hint that we have over here in the number 15 in the 15 Shir Amalis. Al Pizayah Shleima Haremez, Al Piderech Achsidis, Vahadiuk, in the Misbah Tezvav Shir Amalis. Based on this, we can also say, what is the hint, according to Chassidus, in the number, what's the significance of the number of 15, on Tezvav Shonim Shechayu Avis B'Yachad, this is the 15 years that the Avis lived together. If the point here is using the three keiches of Ava, Yira, and Rachmim together, in dedicating yourself to the Eibishter in such a powerful three-pronged way all together, then the point would just be the three Avis. What's the significance of the number 15 specifically here? Misbah Tezvav weist auf die erste zwei Eisies von Shem Havaya. The number 15 hints to the first two letters of Hashem's holy name, Yud-Kei, which is B'gematria Tezvav, a numerical value of 15. Now, what's the significance of the first two letters of Hashem's holy name, Yud-Kei, Vav-Kei, as opposed to the last two letters, Vav-Kei? What's the Chelek zwischen Yud-Kei and Vav-Kei is? Generally speaking, the difference between Yud-Kei and Vav-Kei is as follows. As the Vayeitzei is Vav-Kei Zenen, B'chinas Midas or Malchus. The Vav and the Hey refers to Hashem's Midas, the 6 Midas, and then the last Hey is Malchus. On the Vayeitzei is Yud-Kei, the first two letters of Yud-Kei, then B'chinas Meichen. They represent the level of Meichen, the godly intellect. Yud is Chachma, Yud being 1 point like Chachma, which is 1 point, and then Hey, Bina, is the expansion of that idea of Chachma into the expanded space of the letter of Hey. So this is the significance of Yud-Kei, Meichen, intellect. Now what's the power of godly intellect that is relevant over here in unifying the Midas, or the Aveda of all three Avis, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Ave, Yire, and Rachman? Und das ist der Inyan von die Tezvav Shonim Shechayu Avis B'Yachad. This is the significance of this number 15, that the Avis lived together and that Yaakov brought together this chus in his time in Galus. Kedei, as alle drei Midas sollen kennen sein zusammen und bis Galus, in order to be able to unify these opposite approaches in serving Hashem. And they should all be together and all be revealed together. That's the idea of Chayu Avis B'Yachad. When the Avis lived together, that doesn't just mean that they were physically alive together in the world at the same time, but they joined forces together, that all these Avedas of Avram, which is Ave, and then Yire, Yitzchak, and Rachman, which is Yaakov, were able to work together. So how is this possible? Ave and Yire are really usually opposites. There's time for fear and time for love. They're both approaches in connecting to Hashem, but they don't usually work together. What brings them together? How is that possible? You have to have a revelation from Meichen, from a higher source, from the intellect, godly intellect, that enables the unification of these opposite midas. The Meichen and intellect, over there you don't have this kind of division that you have in midas, as we can see even by a human being. When it comes to midas, if a person is in a mode of love, it's very hard at the same time to employ the opposite, to feel a feeling of fear or rejection. Whereas in Meichen, where a person is objective about things, then he understands something, so there you can bring together an idea which represents love and an idea that represents the opposite, an awe or fear. In the world of Meichen, you're connected more to the source of the thing, the truth of the matter, and not so much the feeling of it, which is subjective. So when you bring a revelation of Meichen, a godly level of Meichen, that allows that the person should sense more of a bittul in his Aveda, and therefore he can express his midas, even opposites, at the same time, connecting to the Eibishter with both together. The revelation of Yud-Kei, the Meichen, that brings about the possibility to include both the midas, Ave, Yire, and Rachman all together as one. That's the significance of the number 15, the 15 Shira Malis, and the 15 represents the three Avis, and specifically when they're together through the Koyach of Meichen. However, here the Rebbe addresses another point about what Yaakov was doing when he was at the house of Lavan, that he was singing. After, in the end of the day, whether he was saying all the Tillim or whether he was saying the 15 Shira Malis, he was singing. So this is not yet sufficient to explain why Yaakov was saying the 15 Shira Malis. The 15 Shira Malis are referred to as a song. When does one sing? When one is happy and joyous. So the question is Viat Yaakov can sagen Shira Malis and Inshal Shira? How could Yaakov Avinu say the 15 Shira Malis to sing, Zayindig and Amatzav Shal Galus, being in such a place, in such a time of Galus? This also is a question on the opinion that says that he said all of Tillim is also a song, Zmiris Yisrael. Why is Yaakov singing when he's in such a difficult place? So yes, it's true, as in the Mizmairim, Retzach wegen Ezri Geimer, you speak in these Mizmairim about the assistance and help that Hashem provides. In the Sinis Koyach of Baikum and Dem Golos, the special power that Hashem grants to overcome the difficulties of Golos. If he's singing is an expression of not some kind of a hope or concealed joy, but it's a open and revealed joy. Was damals is masim zu sagen Shira, then they're singing. Balderach Maimer Azal, as the Gemara says, Einem nim Shira ela ala yayin. If one is singing, it's when he drinks wine, and that brings out a revealed simcha. Then begefindt sich b'charam. So how could he be singing and be with a revealed joy if he's in the house of Charam, which is Charay Nafshal Makim? This place, Charam, represents the anger of Hashem, bebeisa shalavan, and even more so in the house of Lavan. Is the beer in them? So the answer for this is the Yeride from Yaakov Avinu lebeis Lavan is given b'shvil aliyah. Yaakov Avinu descended to this low place in the house of Lavan only because of the great elevation that he will experience through this. As Zolzain, it should be as it was. Vayeitzei ish ma'od ma'od. That Yaakov Avinu expanded and came to great heights, not only physically in the amount of cattle that he received, but on a spiritual level. Und bald as Yaakov had gesehen dem Tachlis HaMachoven von sein Yeride, Yaakov Avinu, even being in the house of Lavan, it's not only that he believed or knew that for sure whatever he's experiencing now will one day lead to an aliyah, but Yaakov Avinu sensed it and he literally saw it now. The aliyah was that the great elevation that's going to come out from this. Therefore, even here, being in the house of Lavan, Yaakov is able to sing and express revealed expression of simcha here in the house of Lavan. That's an additional chiddush of this, that Yaakov is saying Tilim and saying these 15 shir hamalei, singing. There's an additional detail here that we see, the Rabbi explains in Siv Vav, that is, about the 15 shir hamalei. We know in general that everything has a certain unique expression when you look at the opening and the beginning of this matter. The same is true here. As the aliyah was kommt durch the Yeride in Galus, the level of elevation that Yaakov comes to through his descent in Galus here is mudgish in the ersten von the Tezvav Shir Amalis, is highlighted in the first of the 15 Shir Amalis. The Siyam v'chaisim from the ersten Shir Amalis. So what is the last pasuk in the first of the 15 Shir Amalis? If you want to know the content of this mizmor, of this kapitel, you look at the last, because that's where it expresses the mizmor. It says Ani Shalim. I'm seeking for peace. And I speak about this. But Heima la Mulchama. They are out to war. What does this mean? Was meint? As chach afile as vil shalom. Even though he desires peace. Von deswegen, Heima ba'im le'ilachami. My enemies are coming to fight me. Was der Mulchama ruchnis. So now, on a spiritual level, this war here is das der Helem v'hester from Galus. This is the concealment of Galus. Of the pratius, that minyan on isyonis when is an ameneya or ma'akif and avedis Hashem. Specifically, it refers to all kinds of challenges that a person has that are preventing him of serving Hashem. And they come to fight against serving Hashem. That's what the last kapitel says. That's the last pasuk of the first kapitel here. On in them was sagt Shir Amalis. Now the fact that this kapitel opens with Shir Amalis, to sing on the steps of the Beis HaMikdash, of Heimal HaMulchama, regarding this time period when one is in a time of battle, is mudgish der goydel ilui was kommt reis durch der Mulchama. This brings out the great level that comes out of this war, that you're so certain and see the great advantage that there is in this war, that even in the battle itself, one can be singing. So the explanation for this is, how does one sing when he knows that he's going into battle? A Yid is never allowed to go and place himself in a place that will cause him to be challenged by all kinds of tests. We request and ask of Hashem every morning, do not bring me in a situation where I'll be challenged. The far zakter ani shalom. So therefore, the first thing that it says here in this pasuk is that a person says, I seek peace. As a zucht an aveda b'derech shalom. One has to seek to serve Hashem in a peaceful manner, meaning without getting involved in areas and places that will take a person away from Hashem. He has to try to remain in a place which will be conducive to serving Hashem. And this is a kind of aveda that doesn't require any battles or any challenges. However, at the same time, because of the very great level that one comes to when he does fight and he does go through challenges. Hashem brings it about, brings on a person fights and battles. as sufficient hema, that amongst those many, Lashon Rabim in the plural term, which refers to Olam Haza, Gashmi Chulu, the condition a person finds himself here in this physical world, Shanikra, Rishus Rabim, which is referred to as the domain of the public, a place where there are all kinds of elements that can come and attack a Yid. There are those that come and attack and disturb a person from serving Hashem. And on this kind of situation where a person is found in a place of battle, one is singing to Hashem. Not only do these challenges not cause a person to feel demoralized or prevent him of serving Hashem, they don't weaken the very strong dedication to serving Hashem. No, adarabah. On the contrary, when a Yid is confronted by challenges and people that are coming to fight him, it just triggers within him a deeper power and a deeper dedication to serve Hashem. Und das bringt him, as steht, in a Matze von Shir. So much so that even in this time, it brings the person to be in a situation where he can sing. You can sing to Hashem. So this is an additional point here where the Rebbe explains why one could sing. Before on Sif Hey, the Rebbe explained because you see the future. You understand where this is going to, so therefore you can sing. But over here, this itself, that a person is being confronted by all these challenges, so it triggers deeper powers in the person. So those deeper powers bring out this power to sing and to fight with joy against whatever battle is coming in his direction. Jeder Inyan in Teire is a hira nitzchis. Everything in Torah is an internal lesson. Is the fun move on from this? We understand as kol anal is a hira, kol zman golus. This is a very important lesson for the entire time period in Golus. On a hira miyechedes for unsere Zeit, and a very unique and specific lesson in our time period. Koishi Golus, in the very difficult, dark moments of Golus. Dora the ikvis of the Mashiach, the Golus in the last moments before Mashiach comes. B'shas metracht sich herein in dem choshech hakofel v'amuchupel from Dora the ikvis of the Mashiach. If one thinks about, pays attention to the double darkness that we find ourselves in the last moments of Golus. Bizes al piteire is da makim zu fragen me'ai in Yava Yezri. So much so that in this time period, one can come and scream and ask, from where? From where is our help going to come in such a kind of a darkness? And this is also a pasuk that's here in one of the 15 Shir Amalis. One can fall into a despair. Rachmanu litzlan, God forbid. Is the Hira Me'a'omer. So we have the very clear lesson from what we just learned here. We bald as the Yiride von Yidden in Golus, since the descent of Yidden in a Golus. Was is bedugmas Vayeitzei Yaakov goyim v'yelech harana, which is similar to Yaakov that leaves his home and is in a Golus. Is b'shvila aliyah. From the beginning, it's all for the purpose of bringing a greater level of elevation. To bring an advantage, a stronger level of light that comes from a place of darkness. And a greater level of wisdom, of godly revelation, from a place of foolishness where you have to deal with a Yetzer Hara. So if a person knows this truth, that this is all for the purpose of bringing him to a higher place, so a person has to raise his eyes up and see, look at things in a higher level. One should pay attention. Raise up your eyes and look at things from a higher perspective. Some tachlis hamachuvim from Golus, to see the purpose of what the Golus is here for. The aliyah was v'tzayim begula asida, the elevation, the level we're going to come to in the upcoming redemption. And then is not was mevet ispal from the choshech haGolus. Not only should one not become completely overcome and affected by the darkness of Golus, nor adarab, on the contrary, mishteit and amaymed or matzif and simcha gluya. One could even come to have a revealed and expressed joy, shir hamalis, to sing even in the time of Golus. Now the Rebbe clarifies what this means, singing in a time of darkness and Golus. Chas v'sholem zu sagen, God forbid to say, as man darf sein zufrieden von der Maimah der Matzah von Golus, that one should be happy and content from this condition of Golus itself, und trachten, and one should make the mistake and think, das ist a Maimah der Matzah Massam for Yidden, that this condition of Golus itself is okay. We can make peace with it. It's befitting for Yidden. Chas v'sholem, God forbid. Golus is an inyan von choshech and sichlas v'chulu. Golus is darkness and foolishness, and it's something that Yidden don't belong to be in. Aid begalus, when a Yid is found in Galus, Zok Teiresemes, klar and deitlich, the Torah that is says very clearly and directly, as that is a ben shegala mal shulchan aviv hamelech. This is like a child that's been expelled from his home. He's been expelled, a prince that has been expelled from the table of his father, the king. And if the ben feels anders, if the child in this time of Galus feels any different, and sagt anders and expresses this differently, is verstandig the spezielle Finsternis und Niederigkeit von sein Galus. So this itself is actually an indication of an even deeper darkness and a deeper Galus that he's found in, that he's identifying Galus as something which he's okay with and it's fine. That's not what the Rebbe is talking about here, that one should sing and be happy in Galus because he doesn't think that Galus is anything wrong. Now, rather, the point here is, man darf sich hereintrachten in the Kavanah shebezeh. One has to realize what's the inner purpose and the point of this galus. Es soll sein, Yisrael min ha-choshech and Yisrael ha-chachma min ha-sichlis. That this is all a process, a step, bringing a Yid to a greater light and a greater wisdom of Hashem that will be revealed in the world. And it's that the person is focused on that allows him to express great joy even in a time of difficulty. And through this kind of attitude of singing and being with a betochen and happiness in the time of Galus, this reveals on the field, and you will also experience the memfer, the response of the shaila, ma'ayin yavi ezri. What's the answer to the question that we say in this pasuk of ma'ayin yavi ezri, from where does my help come from? In der shaila gufa. And the answer actually lies in the very question itself. That itself shows you that the inside of the question, the inside of the galus, the pnimius of the galus itself is good, has the answer. Where's the answer in these very words? Leitin pirish pnimi, and that is according to the deeper understanding of these words, as der ezer, the assistance, vet nimshach from chinas ayin. Instead of reading it me'ayin as a question, ayin is the answer. That our assistance comes from Hashem from a level of ayin. What does ayin mean? A level which is beyond our grasp. We can't even reach and understand and fathom what this level is. Therefore, we refer to it as ayin. It's beyond our reality. That's the source, the godly source from where our assistance comes from. It's above intellect or any level of understanding from any level of a godly name. A name is a specific level that could be expressed by a name, but here it says ayin. It's a level of godliness which is even beyond the name. That's the answer. That's the level of assistance that Hashem provides to us in these dark and difficult moments. This level of ayin that's so far removed and so high gets drawn down here to us in this world and comes into the system of creation, into the nature of creation, and say the shtalshalus, and it's revealed here in the world. On his poil dart, and it has its impact here in the world. Ezri mi'im Hashem, as the pasuk says, that this is our assistance that comes from Hashem. Oster shamayim v'aretz, which creates heaven and earth. In other words, the assistance comes down here, biz and shamayim v'aretz kepshutam, that we could see it and experience it literally here in heaven and earth, literally physically in this world.